Let's just start, Laura. Racky, how are you today?
I'm great.
I don't believe you.
It's just one of those days. It's a Friday.
So I'm just getting my mic sorted out here.
I've hit the max of the week.
I would say let's be honest. Let's just start being honest. You're not in the best of spirits today.
No. But that's okay.
Do you think it's just like we're coming to the end of the week, we're gassed? Like, what do you
it's
think?
just that sometimes your motor can only run and you can only take so much. So there's no bad reason. I think it's just exhaustion.
This is good because I'm going to throw really difficult topics at you that will make you swing at them.
So that means I'm going to have no filter.
No filter. Because that's, when you get tired, you filter.
That's dangerous.
First thing to go for you
is
a filter.
That's really dangerous for me. Are you sure about this?
It's the power of editing. We're going to be fine.
You can't edit the whole thing.
It could be like a 6-minute podcast.
That's right.
And cut.
I mean, I might throw a few things, tip some tables.
You almost did already today. You almost did already. I love this. No, but see, behind closed doors sort of discussion, I actually find you extremely entertaining when you're in this kind of version of you.
I know, but then you goad me and you make me worse.
Because it's funny.
You can't laugh at somebody who's having a tantrum.
But you have to laugh your way out of it, you see. Like, you laugh your way out of it.
I'm laughing now. It's hilarious.
And you actually said to me, like, don't help me. Don't help me, right?
No, when you're, like, in a moment or you're working through something internally, you're almost, especially as an adult, it's almost embarrassing to have be in a feeling
childlike tantrum
that you can't control, that you logically have no reason for, and you're feeling a certain way. And I think this probably is like more relevant for women. And then when somebody is like fussing over you, it feels like they're drawing attention to you, and then it's almost more embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, let me be over here in my little Suki Lala. Don't look at me. Don't make eye contact. Walk the other way. And I'll come back when I'm ready in 3 to 6 weeks.
You say it's more relevant for women. Have you not met men? They have different tantrums.
Totally different tantrums. Totally.
More childish often. Like, you think you're low? Let's get that bar a little lower.
That's true.
Okay. I've got a few topics today. I've got a few topics today, and I want to start with last week or last episode, or who even knows when it was. We did a segment on 4 signs you should quit your job.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought, that's a pretty benign topic. I'd done a little video on TikTok, Leader Built.
Yeah.
Got a couple of 100,000 views. I'm like, that's a good thing. Let's see what happens. We did this thing. We segmented it up. We put it on our Let's Just Start podcast TikTok.
Yeah.
Let me have a look how many views it had. This is in 2 days. Have a guess. Have just a random guess.
75,000.
75,000. You're missing at least 10.
Wowza.
So we posted this. It's 4 signs that quitting your job is the right call. And it was literally just 5 minutes of us talking about this thing.
Yes.
800, 900, 930,000 views in 2 days. Now, that is nearly 1 million views on a 15 to 200
Very
follower.
compelling, Christian.
But then at this, on LinkedIn, I did a separate video, like similar topic, and put it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn picked it up, promoted it. It's had 350,000 views, right? All around the world, US, whatnot.
So what does this mean?
So my question is this. I mean, this is just like a juicy setup to hit out of the park. But could it be that the employment system as it is in much, much worse shape than we thought? Could it be that people are, much more than we thought, totally disconnected from their work, from their professions, from the work, and the work environments are so fake and so valuesless that everyone's just like, it's not everyone, but obviously a lot more than I thought, hated their job, hated, not personally their manager, but the whole environment. Is it possible it's much worse than I thought?
Well, I think speaking for Australia, the economic environment is certainly going to make that a factor.
It's not great at the moment.
In that maybe in other eras, in other economic environments, people moved around and they had more flexibility to find roles that they really enjoyed, to work in businesses that they really enjoyed working in. But if they're in markets now where it's not that easy to move around. There may be a lot of people who are in jobs that they are very unhappy in.
Yep.
And they feel stuck.
Here's another angle. I agree with that, by the way. Could it be the angle that we're so gaslit on this, man? The cost of living, cost of housing, cost of insurance, all these things are so high and such a large percentage of your income that people are trapped in these jobs and careers where maybe, like, this is going to sound weird. I remember Jerry Seinfeld talked about this. He reckons in the 70s, now he's in New York, you know, and he obviously has like a view of the world of wherever he was at the time. He's like, no one talked about money. No one talked about salary and property and all this, like, you know, ownership. Everyone worked, everyone had a job, and you just hoped that your job was fun. Like people were just sort of, no one was like, the first question wasn't, what do you do for a living? And the second question in Australia is, what's your property situation?
Yeah.
Like, is it possible that it's not, that it's like it's a secondary after effect, that we're stuck in this situation where we can't even afford to live in our own country anymore, and so people feel like they're going to work for nothing.
Yeah.
Like they're on this hamster wheel that they have to keep fueling this life cost, and it's taking all the joy out of work. Is that a possibility?
Yeah. Well, and so, well, it's the same, isn't it the same thing as what I just said?
It is, but it's like, but that's a factor why. So it's like, maybe
Right.
you're right. Maybe we've said the same thing, but
Yes.
this is like the cause and effect. So maybe yours is the effect. So you think people don't have the freedom to do a little bit of more what they want. They do what they have to do
Yeah.
to meet their
Yeah, so you
requirements.
hate your job. Well, guess what? Too bad, because it's not that easy to go and find the dream job or take a risk when you can't pay your gas bill.
Yeah, yeah. Because the way it is now, if you were like 3-6 months off the hamster wheel,
Yep. Forget it.
it's 5 years lost.
People
Catastrophe.
don't have the buffer to take time off before finding a new job.
Yep.
There's uncertainty when you start a new job.
Yeah.
You know, probation periods, all sorts of things. So, you know, if you're in a tenured full-time position
Yep.
that it's difficult to let you go and you're getting consistent income, you just don't have that freedom to jump. And so, yeah, there's probably a lot of people who just feel very, very stuck
Trapped.
and very, very unhappy.
Yeah, and they know that the it's not just the cost of moving jobs, the risk of a new employer. It's the risk that if you get it wrong, and you miss 3 months or 6 months of work, you could go back 5 years.
Yes.
In your
Yeah.
like, what the hell, man?
And you've talked about a lot that this idea that it doesn't matter how hard you work, and even if you are in a job you enjoy, that this sort of current younger generation has no pathway to the sort of life that their parents have carved.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you have to earn as a 20 to 40-year-old to be able to set up a future with financial freedom?
Similar to what the
As an
generation
employee.
before you did. Yeah. Well, I would say almost no one can.
Yeah.
Right? People will argue, they'll say, oh, you can move here and you can go without this. And that's right. Like, there are choices people make, everyone makes, that are excessive, that you could trim back for sure. But
Is it going to move the dial
Apple's,
that
I
much?
saw some stats. There's a guy, avid commentator, have a look on Twitter, he's really good. He put together the exact number of weeks required to save a deposit in 1970 versus now. Now, I'm not going to go down this path and get into this culture war, but I will say this: it's like 5 times now what it was. And there's all these hidden things, like you and I, we look at our insurance bill for and it's like, what, right? And all these incremental creeping costs that are just incomparable.
Well, the difference is, say, 2 school teachers in the 70s, married,
Yep.
could have bought property in the outer suburbs,
Yep.
pay a mortgage,
Yep.
pay their bills, do all of the things,
One of them stay home while having children,
right?
right?
And I'm not saying they're not going to be, you know, James Packer. They're not going to be multi-millionaires, but they can build a financial future from that starting point. 2 school teachers now, forget it.
Well, they're not having that life.
No way. No way.
No.
So it's really tricky.
So here's the question for you. I mean, we've just gone through that sort of preamble, post-amble. Is that a word, post-amble?
It is now.
We have 1.2, 1.3 million views in 3 days.
Yeah.
So there's obviously there's a deep resentment there. Is it deep resentment? Is it deep resentment? Is it because people feel constricted by their choices outside of work, therefore they can't take a risk?
I think that is a huge, huge factor. And then what happens is when employers know this, they're not incentivized to make life good for their employees because they don't have to.
Yeah. It's like if you've got rusted on people voting for you, you
Yes.
want like electorates where you're in
Yes.
80%, you
Yes.
get nothing, right?
Yep.
Marginal electorates get everything.
Yeah.
So similarly for employees.
Like, and you know this with the work that you've done all over the years, that when the talent pool for an industry is very small
Yep.
and competitive,
Yeah.
that employers have to work really hard to give employees all of the warm and fuzzy things that they want. You know, the development, the extra benefits.
Yeah, perks. Perks galore, yeah.
The culture, all of that. Yeah.
And salaries.
But when the market is like, you should be so grateful that we're giving you a job, there's no incentive for employers to keep employees happy.
We're in such a strange situation because we do have massive skill shortages, I can tell you firsthand, in multiple industries. Somehow. I don't know how. I don't know where everybody went, right? It's like 1 million people stopped working in 2021. It's so bizarre. So there's skill shortages, but also there's like people surpluses.
Yeah.
We've got 4% unemployment, admittedly a lot of it recently government, printed jobs. We've got people who, as we can see by our TikTok response here, and that people are desperately unhappy in their jobs and trapped, like you say, because they can't, there's no pathway. If you're not in a certain position now, there's no pathway to real home ownership. You might get a little tiny little place.
Yeah. So why bother?
So I might as well go on holidays and do all these things. Like, why would I bother? Is this where we want to be? Is this where we want to be? Is this the deal of a kid born now, like our kid? Is that their... No. I mean, we'll do everything we can to make sure that that's not the case for them. But is this the deal we're selling to the next generation? Get on the hamster wheel, earn salary lower than CPI, that have the carrot with the donkey.
Just put a roof
For
over
your
head.
whole life, you are going to be on this hamster wheel just getting by. Is that what we're selling them? Oh, man, this made me much angrier than I thought it was going to. And it all just started with, like, I don't like my job. Well, that's no shock. But I just can't believe some of the comments. These people are like, oh, I've got this. I can't do this because. I can't move jobs because. Basically, if I go a month without an income, my whole life falls apart.
Yes.
What the hell?
Yep. And these could be really talented people
Yes.
too.
Yes.
But they're
Phone
stuck.
calls while I'm here.
But they're stuck. That's what, we always say this to our eldest, that I would like him to stay home with us as long as he can.
Yeah.
You know. But because the second that he's got that mortgage or rent pressure, and again,
Yeah.
he's very privileged that he has us as parents, that he can live with us.
Yeah.
I know this is not the case for all people.
Yeah.
But stay home as long as you can so you can take those risks.
Yeah.
And not be...
While the cost is lower.
Right? Because the second you have a mortgage or you've got to pay the rent, all of a sudden your opportunities and capacity to take risks shrinks.
Yeah.
Right? That's why lots of new business owners have come from families that have wealthy backgrounds.
Safety nets.
Because they've got a soft landing place so they can take risks. So...
It almost comes from one or the other, like those that can take the risk or those that have no choice
Yeah.
but to take the risk.
That's true.
Right? So
That's
it's like,
true.
you know, if you find, you very rarely find a boxing or martial arts champion out of a rich suburb, right?
Interesting.
So those who go the distance, you know, let's say I decided to go and turn pro, I'm fighting someone who's fighting literally for their life.
Yep.
I'm not going to beat that person, right? No matter how well trained I am. So you've got those people that are being driven. And I really worry that the upward mobility in this country is busted so badly that now those stories are going to be just less and less and less and less and less, because there's just the pathway is, not that it can't be done. I'm not saying, by the way, if you want to, like, there's lots of ways to do it. It just involves significant risk,
Yep.
right? And disproportionate risk. But if the person who's going to do it, you're not going to stop them.
That's right.
But the next band up who might have taken the risk, who might have started their own business, the incentive set is so busted now that it's like, work for the government, work on government contracts, or good luck.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was, I don't know how they got to that, but my next is a little bit more interesting.
Do you think a million people are going to quit their job next week?
No, because they can't. Because if they take a month off, they're cactus, aren't they? Right? And obviously the cost goes up if you have children. I mean, like, these are the things we need to be incentivizing. Is to be having children in a way that, anyway. Let's not. We could do this for the rest of the year.
Issue spot.
Yeah. All right. So I heard you doing a video this week on. Well, maybe you can tell me. What's the book again?
Nice girls don't get the corner office.
Now, are there corner offices anymore? I'm not sure.
I have a corner office.
You certainly do. Nice girls don't get the corner office. And can you explain? There's a series of rules. This is a fabulous book, by the way. Tell me.
I must check when it was first published, but it's actually unconscious mistakes that women make that sabotage their careers is sort of the headline summary of what the book is. And why it was so transformative for me.
When did you first read it?
Oh, in my early 20s, right? 5 years ago. No. So,
Ow.
20 years ago,
Yep.
okay? And why it was so transformative for me was because I did not realise the ways in which I'd been socialised as a girl and a woman to behave in certain ways, to think in certain ways, and how those sorts of behaviours would actually impact me in the real world. Okay? You know, I had been raised to be quietly confident and almost, you know, that seen and not heard, and to be as of service and always be kind and always put others before you. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go so far in the other direction, but we must have some awareness of ourselves when we go out into the big bad world about the ways that we have been raised or we've developed over our lifetime that are the things that are not going to serve us in the real world. Yeah?
Yes. Or they hold us back. Yeah.
That's what this book points out. All these little things that you just would not think about or know about in yourself because it's just been drilled into you from such a young age, or some things that are innate. So, for example, one of them is, you know, well, you're doing it now and it's okay, but tilting your head.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's great body language to demonstrate listening.
Mirroring and whatnot. Yep.
But it might not be correct in particular environments. So if you're in a boardroom, probably sitting like this and listening in this way doesn't actually show your competence and your confidence in the room.
Yep.
It will diminish the way that you're perceived in that setting.
Good.
So
what about upward inflection on questions?
Well, that too. I don't know if that's covered in the book.
But this is our book. I got one. Can I say one?
Yeah.
This is one thing that really bothers me. I see, let's say, younger women working in retail environments.
Yeah.
And when you go to pay, they say, what do they say?
That's just?
It's just $13.
Yes.
And I actually want to stop the whole day for them and for everyone around them and everyone, particularly, I've never heard male say it, only female, only girls, and want to say, listen, you did not set the price. You don't have to apologise to me for the price or anyone for the price that this shop is set. It's not just that will be $13, please. And it is exactly what you're saying. It's like, is it okay? Will you please pay the...
Be small, be apologetic.
Yeah, right, no.
Smooth the way, never make anybody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Put other people's comfort ahead of yours in every interaction.
This is a big one for you. Go further with that one.
That's a big one for me. Big one. And actually, I did not realise how pervasive that one was until we had our little one. And she is not, well, she's much better now, but she didn't like being around strangers. And, you know, as a toddler, people would come and approach her. She's a gorgeous little thing. And she would freak out, hide behind me. And these people are just relentless. They just do not care. They can see a child is stressed.
Distressed.
Oh, come on, why won't you talk to me? Give me a kiss.
Yeah, you should cuddle this person.
You
A
know,
stranger, like total random stranger, yeah.
For quite a while, I was sort of, and I was trying to make the adult feel better in that situation and explaining her what, you know, look, she'll warm up and da-da-da. And I can't even remember, there was one interaction that was particularly bad and I didn't stick up for my daughter.
I remember.
Oh, what was it? Do you remember what
I
it
remember
was?
it was maybe a cafe or something. There was a guy who was like, he was doing. They said, by the way, these people aren't doing anything wrong. They're like, but they're coming up and they're like, here, come and look. You can look at this thing,
Yeah.
and she's like basically hiding under a rock because she's anxious, a little toddler, and it was during the COVID lockdown, all
Yep.
that sort of, and you just like you don't exactly know what to do in that moment.
Yep.
Where
And afterwards, I thought about it and I thought, I am the one person in the world, well, one of the two people in the world who my pure existence is to protect this person,
Yep.
this little person. Why the hell am I protecting the feelings of another adult?
yeah,
What the hell?
Yes.
And so then it just opened a line of inquiry in myself and
Yeah.
thought, why am I doing this? Why have I been socialized to care so much about what other people, especially strangers, how they feel or care, respond in a situation?
over the emotional response
So
of your
now-
own kid. No, see, that wasn't even the one I was thinking about.
Oh, really?
This is something we used to talk about a long time ago. Is let's say the subset of males that are creepy and that invade space,
Yeah.
right? And that workplace, nightclub, cafe,
Yes.
work, like any different environments, younger women most likely, but are socially expected to put up with the overreach by male behaviour. I don't think it's that many, but it's enough to be a problem. That guys say this, move close, touch, whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, ha, 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 that's okay. No, it's not okay.
There is the social training, but part of it is actually fear and self-preservation.
Right.
Because we don't know which one of those men will snap
Based on your response.
based on our response. So if we put up a boundary, like don't touch me or don't speak to me like that, you just don't know. We don't know.
I know that you don't know.
And so, yes, so we do. This is how we're accustomed to behaving. So we will put our own discomfort to one side to make sure others don't feel uncomfortable.
Well,
And that
Laura,
would be the same in a workplace.
so rule 44, nice girls don't
Yep.
get the corner office. Have I remembered correctly rule 44?
That's the
I
one.
overheard
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Tell me about it.
It is believing the myth of the work-life balance.
This is dangerous waters, Laura Racky.
It is. They are. Because,
What does the book say?
well, the book says that it is a true myth, that no such thing exists.
Loch Ness Monster, moon landing, work-life balance.
And the quote, which is an expression that we've all heard, is, yes, women can have everything, but they can't have everything all at once.
That's a good one.
And I believe that and know that to my very core to be true.
Firsthand, you know that.
Firsthand, I know that. And I think what makes me angry about all of this is that I was shocked when I became a mother. I was shocked, which in hindsight, I almost feel stupid.
Yeah,
that
naive. It's quite naive,
Right?
isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
But especially, I went to a girls' high school.
Mm-hmm.
We were told, you can do anything, you can have it all. It's normal to be a working mother. You can have a career, you can have children.
Like
Go get them.
double green light on both at the same time.
Go get them.
Yep.
There's nothing holding you back except reality.
Physics.
And so I was so shocked. I was so angry and disappointed. I couldn't comprehend. Well, firstly, I think that when you are a young woman, you can't possibly understand the impact of having children
Yep.
on your life
Yep.
and your outlook. Now, I know you hate it when I do this.
No, this is a fair
I'm
asterisk. Go
going to
ahead.
put the caveat because I can already read the comments of people.
It's not
getting
about the comments.
angry at
This
me.
is a legit caveat because it's a complex
Just
issue.
to be clear, there is no shame in being a mother and putting your career at the forefront of where you put your time and energy.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
I have no issue with that.
Yep.
If that's what you choose to do.
Yep.
No shame, no judgment. Men do it every bloody day of the
Yep.
week, and
Yep.
that's okie dokie.
Tick.
What I'm talking about here is if you want to be a mother that does put a serious amount of your time and energy with your children, okay?
As well as having a career.
As well as having a
Yep.
career, all right?
Not a job, a career.
Okay? Because if you're choosing, if you've got a partner that's at home with your kids morning, evening, whatever, it's a different conversation. For me, it was incredibly difficult to be wanting to put full-time energy into my career and building my career whilst then being away from kids.
Okay, so let's, if it's okay with you, move away from the specific circumstance and say, like, the promise.
Yep.
Where does the promise come from?
I don't know.
Like, it just seems to appear. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that I've ever heard say, you can do this, like, as in, like, someone of authority.
Yeah.
You can be a killer career and a perfect parent and all this community. And I don't know where it comes from.
I think a big part of it
But it's there for
is
sure.
this sort of the feminist movement of giving women the equality and rights and saying that you can build careers and you can be successful in a professional setting.
Yeah.
But then the societal and probably innate expectation or driver in women to be parents. And the two things, like, it hasn't...
I wonder how much of it's internal guilt.
A lot of it is internal guilt. But to me, I remember actually saying to my mum when my first was quite little, and I said, I wish you just told me to just be a homemaker, to just bake cupcakes and be a mum. I wish that I had been raised to believe that that was the peak of existence for me as a woman.
Because it's awesome, yeah.
Because instead, I've been raised that the peak of existence for me is to go and get degrees, to have a career, to earn money and be successful. And yet, I want to have children, and the world tells me I should want to have children. And I don't know how I'm supposed to do both. This has created this hell for me.
Hang on, I don't want to be contrarian with you here. Like, I don't want to start like some sort of fight with you here, but
You know,
you've done a phenomenal job.
Thank
like,
you.
I don't think, when you actually boil it down to the practical, I think it is possible to do both, but there's no balance, right? They both become 100% of your
Hang on,
existence.
but that's different. I'm saying, when I say do both,
Yeah.
I'm talking both at full clip.
Yeah, no, okay.
You can't do both
No,
at full
no.
clip.
I totally agree with that. Having said that, there are ways to do it so that you can do them both very well.
Yes.
But it leaves nothing for you.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
So it's like if you imagine you've got a triangle. You've got family, work, and self. Like, self-fulfillment and time and time in your... If you're going to try, it's very hard. You can't probably do all three of those perfectly. You can do two of them well,
Yes.
or you can do one of them perfectly.
Yes.
So you can go and have an absolute axe murderer career. You look at some of these, particularly males, obviously, who go and become these global CEOs, and they're through 3 marriages, and their kids that basically don't even talk to them, and they go out and build this career, and they become global doyens, right? And that's sort of perfect career in inverted commas.
Yeah.
And then you've got someone who's a perfect parent over here. We know what that involves. And then you've got someone who is perfect self, can travel, can do whatever they want. Can't do all three perfectly. If you want to do all three, good luck. But you can probably do 2 out of 3 well. You can have a good career, balance
Yes.
as best you can,
Yes.
and good parenting,
Yeah.
balance as best you can.
But
Trade-off.
I think that the narrative about having it all and the pressure, the way I would like it reframed is to say to young women, you can't have it all at once. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Seasons.
We know that once kids start school, things get easier. There's different challenges, okay? And school hours in Australia are not great for full-time work.
Yeah.
But it's different from babies,
For sure.
toddlers,
Probably past 6-year-old,
right?
things can change.
So
But that's a long gap if it's just on the mother.
I know
to
it's
be,
a long gap,
yeah.
but there's ways to keep your foot in the door, to gently keep ticking along. But it's okay to say, you know what, for this patch, I'm not going to be a world beater in my career.
Yep. Yep.
And that's okay.
Yep.
I think that's what's missing.
I agree with you entirely. And I'd love to see better avenues back.
The other thing, and this,
Uh-oh.
I told you I wouldn't hold back.
I'm
This is
nervous.
controversial.
I'm nervous.
The other thing that I think is unreasonable is an expectation in any professional context of, whether this is male or female, being in the season of children, focusing and prioritising children, which is your choice and is great, and having an expectation of stratospheric career progression and being frustrated that things are not working out for you at the pace you expect in a workplace.
Yep.
I think those two things are incongruent, and I don't think that should be an expectation also.
So that's the season. Like you say, the trade-off is obviously much harder. Now, okay, then overlay the fact that men who 30 years ago had almost no, generally speaking, daytime responsibility for the kids, now that's changed a lot. If you go to any playground, any school, time of day, it's like maybe not 50-50, but it's nearly there. Men are a lot better. I think that's helped the equation.
Yes.
But then we're all just doing it badly now. Like we're all doing all of it badly.
But maybe that's okay too.
Yeah.
Not badly, but certainly we talked about this during lockdown that, you know, at that point I'd had my business for quite a while. I was very confident in myself. My clients had confidence in my commitment.
Yep.
And I often would say to a client who was trying to get a hold of me, listen, my day's fully booked. The next time I'm going to be free is at 5 p.m. while I watch my son's squad swimming.
Yeah.
If you really want to talk to me today, that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, I love that real world stuff.
And it'll be noisy. Now, 10, 15 years ago, I couldn't have done that. Okay?
You
First-
or any woman?
First, because I don't think I would have demonstrated and had the trust of my clients.
Yep, you weren't as competent.
Not as competent. And second, less sort of...
The market was different.
Right.
Yep.
But what happened over the COVID period was all of a sudden all these men had kids around, right?
They go, this is what it looks like.
And guess what? They got their job done. What
Yeah.
a shock.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah? And I remember you were great during that period because you were like unashamed.
Because I was already doing it.
You were like, listen, Bluey's on in the background, suck it up. We're going to have the conversation with Bluey on in the background. And everyone just had to suck it up and get it done.
But what they didn't, a lot of them didn't know, or having said that, I've been very fortunate to work with clients that are good in that regard, but I'd been doing it already. Like I've been doing it for years. And so
I think
it wasn't a change for me.
The shift is, yes, more men are being flexible themselves, which I've been saying this for 20 years, that you can't help women in the workplace if you don't give men the same flexibility. They need to step up so that it's not all on mum. Yeah? Yes, we're being very heteronormative here. I know that. Too bad. That's how I'm speaking.
So you're framing it today?
Yes, because I have a personal
This
experience.
is like you're saying it from your own point of view.
Right.
Yes,
and my experience as a woman, I would love a wife. Sorry, Christian. If anyone wants to be a stay-at-home wife for me, I would love that. I've got 3 loads of washing to do, a house to clean.
All right.
Anyway, don't get jealous.
I'm not. Just thinking about it. Anyway,
So let me get back to what I was saying.
come back to your microphone first.
So, yes, I think that things are
Move
slowly
that mic a bit
shifting.
closer.
Things are slowly shifting. People are seeing that it's not a sign of incompetence or not being focused to stop your day at 3:30, pick up your kids and jump back online at 4:30.
Yeah.
These sorts of things
It's
are
just smart.
changing.
But it's just smart.
Right. And then that brings us back to just a more broader conversation around work-life balance, that you've got to, now I'm not talking about more junior positions where you're not earning big money and it's reasonable to clock in at 9 and clock off at 5.
Yeah.
You and I are old school.
Yes.
It's not very fair work of us, but
We don't do fair work.
we're
for
old
ourselves.
school and we're of the ilk where you just did the hours no matter what. You got the job done no matter what. Yeah? We pulled the 2 a.m s.
Yep.
This was life. I didn't get paid extra when I was working in top tier firms to be working. But God, I got experience.
Yep.
My God, I learnt a lot.
But everything you have now is based on the fact that you did that.
Right.
Anyway,
That's a whole nother conversation.
Bloody hell.
But if you are senior, if you have your own business, this work-life balance where you're just going to put away the phone and, at 5 o'clock, it doesn't exist. You've got to find a way to integrate the two things and make the two aspects of your life work together.
So you're saying you want your kids being productive from minute one. Like when your kids on the job, 12-year-old, as soon as they're 12, that's
Totally.
it. They start doing the work.
So back to the book, Myth of Work-Life Balance. I think really what that myth is for me when I'm thinking about it for women is being told that you can be the perfect mother that you want to be, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
And also continue on the same career trajectory that you had at the same rate before you had children. I don't believe that is possible. I think it is unfair for women to believe it. I think it's unfair for women to put pressure on themselves to do that.
To be expected to do it, yeah.
It's okay. Chill out a bit. Listen, this is a whole other conversation. I will never tell women to drop out of the workforce. You've got to have your foot in the door. Always have a capacity to earn.
You would go another step in that.
A man is not a financial plan. A man is not a financial plan. That's another conversation. Don't let me out of the gate on that one today, Christian. But
I'm so glad I raised this topic today.
It's okay to slow down in one area.
Yeah.
You can pick things up later.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
if you
long
want
life.
it, so Laura, and that's the thing people forget, like it's a long working life, but also if you want it, let's say you decide that, I mean, who knows, after 1-2 children, both of you, like whoever's you're involved with, can have a very different outlook on what you want to do in the rest of your life. You can't account for the fact that your whole mindset might change. But assuming it's not going to, and you think, all right, we're going to spend this 5-6 year period being like more focused on kids, and on the other side of that, we want to then resume our normal trajectory. Plan it that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do what you can. Talk to your employers best you can, or your own business, whatever you're doing, and plan it that way as best you can. And say, okay, keep your foot in if that's what you want to do, and do it your best you can.
Yes.
And then get ready the year before you're ready to go back and really start tooling up and getting back to... Like, I'm not saying this is easy, by the way, and the pathways back, particularly for women, are very hard.
Yeah.
I'm not for a moment disregarding that.
Yes.
Like, I'm actually embarrassed by how poorly we handle this situation with all these phenomenal women on, like, career bench and then integrating them back in. Some companies do it really well. Most companies do it really poorly.
And they're missing out.
Right? Because all this, my view on this is that, don't write letters, a working mother is the most efficient worker in the world.
Yep.
Right? They will get done in 2.5 days when other people will take 2.5 weeks.
Christian, anyone who dares to think that that's not true.
Well, they get crushed. They get crushed.
They're off their head.
So work-life balance is a myth.
We're talking
In
about
part.
the context of women with families.
Yes.
Right?
In that season. So view it as a season. Like, who am I to give advice on this? But you've given excellent advice on this. The book's given...
No.
Would you suggest reading that book?
100%.
All right, let's leave that segment there. Read that book. Now I have managing up when you have a weak and incompetent senior manager.
Woo!
Yeah, man.
We love this
I
one.
posted a little leader built one on this yesterday, and it went to like 40,000 views in about 5 minutes. And people were like...
It is a universal experience.
So let me frame it. You're in a situation where you're serious about your career and you're trying to make progress, and you bump into, you almost certainly will at some point in your career, a very incompetent, very weak senior person that is a blocker between where you are and where you want to go, right? And I think you're with me so far?
Yep.
I think in that scenario, you come down to 2 key questions. There's 2 key paths you can take. One is, do I take this person head on and try and go through them? Or, that's option 1. Option 2, do I do it the other way and try to go around them, try and undermine, move sideways, wait them out, that sort of thing.
Sounds fun.
Option 3 is to leave, do something, go somewhere else. But this is based on the fact that you're planning to stay where you're planning to stay.
Number
right?
2 sounds good, except the wait them out bit. I don't like that so much.
I know you're impatient, but it is actually can be quite fun. Actually can be in a sort of Machiavellian way. It can be quite fun. What's the Fabian? The Fabian.
We love a good Fabian
strategy. That's right. Fabius. We'll talk about that another day. Maybe I'll talk about that in a minute. So these are virtually two options if you're planning to stay where you are, is to do I go around, wait them out, work the angles, feed them what they need to be fed, feed the beast while I go and work on what I'm going to work on.
So how do you do that?
We'll come to that. And then the other option is to try and go straight through them. So if you're going to go through them, let's start with that one. There is a way to do it. You've got to first understand what it is that is driving them, what they're incentivized by. Are they insecure? Are they sociopath? Are they just, they've been like attrition, like they've just stayed a long time, everyone else has left, they've landed where they are, like a goat on the top of a tree does not know what to do. Or nepotism. That's often one. It's very hard to beat nepotism. If they've been, their family or they're connected, they're like, you probably can't win that. If you're going to go through them, this is how I would do it. You must snow them with positive accountability. If there's one thing that incompetent and weak senior managers hate, it's accountability. It's that you need to have your house in order. Your backyard needs to be pristine. Your team needs to be hitting every expectation you can possibly imagine. And then, once you've got that, you start laying them with, we're doing great, we want to grow, we want to hire, we want to do this, we want to do that. Can you support me with this? I need that tool. Can you help me with this? And you keep putting that positive accountability on them, growth accountability, and they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. And 3 or 4 or 5 months from then, right, you're basically auditioning to replace them. 3 or 4 or 5 months from then, when you've got no response to 40 emails and all, no help and lies and gaslighting, then you can make your move to try and get them removed, right? But if you're going to do that, try and go through them, try and replace them, you have to have your backyard in order, because these people are mud wrestlers. They're experts at gaslighting.
Experts, yeah.
And if you do not have your backyard in order, they will win in the mud wrestle. They'll pull you down. Oh, but you haven't done this. Oh, but you haven't done that.
Yep.
Your vulnerabilities will undo you months of work.
Yes.
Okay. Does that all make sense?
Yes, because especially with a senior manager, like you're saying, that has insecurities and weaknesses, they're going to be most alive to those things in others, I think.
Well, they're expert. If they've got that far
Yeah.
and they're incompetent, they're expert at the corporate politics. They're expert
Yes.
at diversion, undermining,
I respect that,
gaslighting.
by the way.
Oh, it's a skill in itself, right? Half the country's run by these people.
Yes.
Right? But if you're going to take this person on, do not underestimate them. This is what they do for a living.
Yep.
They do power politics. So if you're going to go at them, you have to have, and even then you still might lose.
Yep.
Now, going around them is a horse of a different colour. The Fabian strategy is to have minor skirmishes and to continue to retreat. So basically, if you can work out what it is that they are incentivized by, what information do they need from me to leave me alone, right? Keep feeding them that, even if it's nonsense, it's going to hurt your soul, but you know what you're doing it for. You keep feeding them nonsense, right? Oh, here's this report and that report. Then they can go and do their presentations that are entirely pointless. But you are quietly working on the side. You're building relationships. You're going around them. You're going above them. And you're starting to, have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? And other people, you're starting to understand, are they supported by other, and you're doing it that way. Slowly, maybe you're creating a new path for yourself around them. Oh, we should move into this new market. Have you thought about this area? And we start to create our own path while we're feeding them to keep them off our back. Does that make sense? Which one would you do? Go direct, feed the beast, and work your way around over time. Both of them require patience. You'd leave.
I would try first going around, and with someone like that, if the other senior people around them or above them don't care or don't make changes based on what I'm highlighting about that person quickly, then I would leave, yes.
This
But
is
that's
some
my
of what
nature.
we talked about last week about one of the reasons to leave is that the culture's blown and no
Yeah.
one's doing anything about it.
Why would I, as an excellent operator, want to be in a workplace that is rewarding?
Clowns.
Yeah, not interested. And again, yeah, like that's on the basis that it's easy to find something else and blah, 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 blah. But so I wouldn't bother going direct, because that person, that's just going to create an enemy out of that person, I would think.
Yeah. And you're at a less powerful position and
so.
have some vulnerability.
I think so, yeah.
The Machiavellian version, the strategic. Now, listen, I will do one day a course on this, because I've actually helped quite a few people get past these sorts of people.
Yeah.
Strike rate 100%. Sometimes a bit hairy, sometimes running close to the wire, but strike rate 100%.
Yeah.
Because these people are everywhere. But they're very predictable, very easy to see their behaviour patterns. They're gaslighters, but they're good at what they're good at, and you have to be very careful. So if you have the weak, incompetent manager and you are serious about your career, you have two choices. You either go head to head and you do it, your backyard in order, and you snow them with accountability, or you feed them junk while you work on your way around them, above them, beside them, however it is you're going to get around them, or you buy yourself time to go move somewhere else or whatever, but you do it indirectly and hope that they don't notice. Because if you catch a tripwire, you might get into a bit of trouble. But once again, backyard in order. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
We've solved that problem.
That's it. We're all sorted. I wrote down a few things. Have you ever heard of the butt brush effect? Butt brush effect.
Like dry brushing?
No. Well, that's the beauty segment. We're not doing a beauty segment this week. Paco Underhill did some study some years ago. This is interesting in a retail setting, that women, if they are in a retail environment where the aisles are so tight that they might brush butts with someone, they feel so uncomfortable they'll leave and won't buy anything.
I believe that.
Of course you believe that. To think that we needed a study for that is an interesting one.
Yes.
But he basically has said that, whether he said it or not, but this will instruct how wide supermarket aisles are, retail aisles. If you're in particularly mixed environments, so let's say it's all women shop, jewelry store, something like that, less of a problem.
Okay.
Can be tight.
I was going to say, because I was going to call out Mecca in Camberwell.
Oh, your
and
favourite
say,
topic.
Well, how the hell
is
that
women.
place all full all the time?
Because it's all women.
You can't.
You're not brushing against dodgy men.
You can't turn around without touching 10 people in that shop.
Well, to be fair, they got 10 staff in there as well. So,
but it's all women, so there you go. That makes sense.
So if it's mixed and the women are in now, by the way,
Yeah.
I am stretching the study here, by the way, and moving into practical. If it is an environment where women feel like they're brushing up against men, they're not going to shop there. They're going to feel so uncomfortable, they're not going to shop there. So if you have a retail store, make sure your aisles are that wide.
I like that.
I've got some other ones, some other fun ones. Peak end rule. This is a Kahneman. This is a really interesting one. As long as the end of an experience is the peak, people will forgive a whole bunch of bad experience before that. So let's say you're at a fun park, water slide park, whatever it is, 2-hour lines, all this sort of business. As long as the end peak is quality, people's memory, they will wipe out all the terrible stuff and only remember that time we went down that big slide, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's why in really hard Pilates classes they give you a really good stretch.
That's at the end, and you're like, oh wow, I felt amazing.
Do feet in
so
straps.
you walk out and you forget all that just horrible stuff they put you through. All right, what else have we got here? We've got.
Are we trying to get the peak at the end of this segment?
We have not peaked at all yet, so let's hope we can get somewhere near something.
Boy.
Variable rewards. This is the dopamine hack that unpredictable reward system will hijack your dopamine system, which is why slot machines, this sort of stuff works. Dating apps.
Right.
Unpredictable rewards.
I feel like a dating app is a predictable reward for women. But anyway.
I was reading about the monetization of dating apps and how they trap both sides of the thing. There's a story just today that a guy had swiped 2 million times or something for one date. The poor bugger, right? Holding a fish in his photo and whatnot. But it was that the men had been convinced that if they paid, that they would get a better chance or whatever.
Yes.
And the women had been convinced that if they paid, they'd get a higher quality of men, the top bracket, but it wasn't. And also that it had been Shopify, not the app, but that it was like you're shopping on category, so you can filter by height, you can filter by this. If you pay more, you can filter by more. So it's like online shopping. So anyway, it's a bloody total mess. No wonder we're in this horrible mess of dating. But variable rewards. This is a dopamine hack that will trick you, which is why things like slot machines will continue because of variable rewards.
So you think that you don't know
when the reward's coming. That's right.
Ooh,
so the dopamine, because remember, dopamine's not about the actual reward; it's the anticipation of the reward. So the possibility of the big win.
Like my emails from the lot that say you have had a win, And I get excited and then I open it, it says $17.35.
And how much had you invested?
We're not talking about that. That's so boring.
Okay, here's another fun one. Anchoring bias. This is by Tversky and Kamen. They were long-term colleagues. Random numbers as an anchor can serve to get people stuck or starting somewhere, and you can work down or up from there. So anchoring bias in negotiation is, let's say that there's a job and no one's talked about salary. You might start the anchor at 100,000, which means that if it ends up at 90, that seems reasonable. But if you'd started at 80 and try to go up to 90, it'd be a real problem, right? So you start and get whittled down. Where you anchor, where you start is can affect. So the study that they did was, it was something like people had to guess how many countries there were on a map or something, and they spin a wheel randomly before and they look at the number. And by the way, I might be butchering this. I can't remember the study. I've read about it years ago. If the number was higher, they had higher guesses, and if the number was lower, they had lower guesses. So there's just like an anchoring of numbers. So in negotiation, if you want to look on my leaderboard, there's a couple of things on anchoring and negotiation that are very useful. There's a couple more. Choice overload. People who are given the choice of 6 jams will buy 10 times the amount of jam than those that are offered 24 jams. So if you're offered 6, you can consciously make a decision, but 24, all too hard, overbearing, won't buy anything. And also that sort of leads into tiered pricing. So if you have price 1, small, $1, medium, $3, large, $4, people will buy the large because they're like, wow, what a great deal. Or, or they make the large $10 and this one's $6 and oh, wow, what a deal. Like, you can actually trick people with 3-tiered pricing. But if you make it 5, 6, 7, they can't do it. You got to make it, it's basically 3. Every set of pricing you'll see on software, SaaS as a service is all
3.
1, 2, 3. Everything's 3 for that reason. And it's all based on Kahneman's research. It's unbelievable. It's exactly right. If you give people too much choice, they will get overwhelmed. They will not buy.
Oh, that's so true.
All right, here's the last one. Okay, social proof. Now this one is pretty reasonably understandable. Is that people will instinctively go to places where they see social proof. If there's 6 restaurants, and one of them has people full, this must be the best restaurant. Which is why restaurants fill the outside seats first, right? So,
but it's the same sometimes.
Nightclubs,
when you shop.
there's 100 people in there and 200 people in the line. There's a good reason that they do that.
I
Social
may have
proof.
had in my youth more than one argument with bouncers on that point.
Doesn't sound like you at all.
Because I could see inside the nightclub and it was not full. And I would say, I'm going because I'm not going to stand out here and make your nightclub look good. I've got better places to be than in this line.
I've never been to a nightclub. I don't really know what that's about.
Aren't you banned everywhere?
That's outrageous. There's only a few places. I'm sure those bans are there's statute of limitations on those.
Do you think?
There's been seasons. There's been seasons. But I can't remember ever going to a nightclub, let's put it that way. So social proof, that's actually it's really useful. And this is why things like testimonials and reviews are so important. Like, think about your online shopping experience. In a world of charlatans, you see 2,000 5-star reviews. Even if they're fake, which a lot of them are, you still get, your body will give you the response to say, okay, we've filtered the quality with social proof. So restaurant, if it's full, you're more likely to want to go there. Empty restaurant must be less quality. You don't know.
But it's the same when you're shopping, that sometimes just a store will get a few people in there and then all of a sudden it's absolutely chockers because everyone walking past is like, oh,
there's people in there.
What's going on in there? We're so weirdly wired.
Other people, it's herd mentality. Other people are looking at things, so therefore I will look at things. Have you ever seen a horse race where a jockey falls off the horse?
I'm sure I have.
The horse stays in the race. They don't stop.
Yeah.
They stay with the herd and they run around. They often win because they've got 50, 60 kilos less on their back. But they will all run with the horses, and we're all the same.
We are.
We will follow the herd, and social proof is a massive one. They're all my little psychological tidbits for the day.
I enjoyed that.
I can do more next week if you see fit.
I enjoyed that. I'm sure there'll be many in between now and next week as well.
You enjoy these things.
I do.
Where else would you be without my entertaining interludes?
I learn things.
Is there anything else you want to cover today?
I don't think so.
You've done well because you were not in a great mood. And I feel like that mood's going to return when we finish. You've done well when the lights go on.
It's all right. We're all human.
We are. It's going to be a long day.
We can't be at peak every day.
As long as we end peak, as the psychology says.
How do we do
Peak
that?
end.
How do we end in peak?
Do we have any good little fun things to add?
What's the absolute highlight of your week been?
I have to be cryptic because you know discretion is my number
Yeah.
one. Someone unexpected
Yeah.
asked me to do something, and it was, well, I've already used the word unexpected, but it was unexpected.
Yep.
And a couple of things have happened this week that are maybe signals of good things to come.
I like it.
Yeah. And you know, like I'm an arch pragmatist, but
Mm-hmm.
a couple of little sprinkles in the right direction this week.
Yes.
So what about you? Highlight of the week?
I'm a little bit more simplistic. I had a moment this week in the office. I don't know what triggered it, but just that overwhelming feeling of gratitude, actually.
Yes.
I think where I just was like, yeah, this is, wow, this is,
We're
I'm
doing
here,
all right.
my kids are happy, everything's good, you know,
Things are okay.
things are okay. I'm appreciative. It
Me
was
too.
that sort of feeling. Yeah.
That sounds like a peak end to me. Appreciation.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Gratitude gets you on the frequency that you need to be on for the good things to keep happening.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with you on that. And with that, I will say